My family and I are Downwinders. We lived in Perwin, Utah. My family was involved with the Downwinders, and we used to go out as children in a row of trees, and our teacher would say that we got to watch history in the making. And when a bomb would go off, we'd go out and watch the cloud, an orange cloud, go over our town. And then we used to play in the dust. And as a child, I remember a gentleman coming into our elementary school, putting something on the wall, and when I ran to the bathroom, I stopped and asked him what it was, and he told me just to move on and not bother him. Later, I found out that it was a radiation detection in our school because of the bombs. My father had cancer. My mother had cancer. My mother had 13 brothers and sisters. All of them died from cancer, all of them, including my mom. My dad had prostate cancer, died from Alzheimer's, but had cancer. I have 3 sisters, Joy, Sheila, and Gail. All 3 of them have had cancer of one form or another, and I have had cancer, had radiation, chemotherapy, lost my hair. My daughter, Christy, has thyroid cancer. My daughter, Colette, had uterine cancer, so could not have any more children. It has affected us greatly. I had a baby when I was 16. She died from what the doctor told me was the result of the radiation. She was poisoned because of that. I lost 2 other children, 2 baby girls, and my life was forever changed because of that. I remember coming back from California with my family, and they set a bomb off, and you could see it in the background. And my mom and dad were talking and getting kind of nervous, and so we looked back and we could see the cloud. And when we got to St. George, on this hill, before we went into St. George, they stopped us and put a Geiger counter on the car. They told us to pull over because the car had to be washed off. My dad was concerned because they were in a suit, and we were kind of nervous as children. And he said, if there's radiation on the car and you're washing it down the drain that people might drink, what happens to that? And the gentleman that was in the suit from the government said to just never mind, be on your way. I'll never forget that. Just never mind, be on your way. So that was one experience. I had another experience. I was deer hunting with my mother and my friend. We were sitting on a hill before the sun came up. The trees were like glistening. They were moving in the wind. They set a bomb off, and everything, it just seemed like became still, just very eerie and still. And my mom and my friend my friend and I grabbed my mom, and we were very frightened about it. And my mom said, it's going to be all right. It will pass. And that's all she said because she didn't want to frighten us while we were there. So I remember that also. I remember the clouds coming over our town and writing our names in the dust, how happy we were, and we thought that was really cool when we were children. Our teacher, when I interviewed her later on, was very sorry that she had us go out. She said she didn't have any idea that it would harm us, and she felt really, really bad about it. Her name was Mrs. Hendrickson. The adults were very nervous about it, didn't understand what was going on. My father, my uncle, had a large sheep herd, didn't understand the things that the government were telling them, like If a bomb goes off, open your doors and windows and you'll be all right. The town was just talking. It was a small town, and everywhere you went, it was talking about the bomb tests and how they would affect people. Parents were worried about that for their children and themselves. I looked at the world differently. I tried to help other people that have had cancer or had family members that died from it. I have helped over 5,000 people get compensation from the government. I have done commercials for Wayne Owens, Matheson, because they have tried so hard to keep the compensation going from the government. I helped a lady in Provo that had a brain tumor. She had applied for compensation. The government gave her an IOU. The United States government owes you $50,000 because they did not have the money at the time to pay her, and she passed away before she got it. Her husband received it, but she passed away before she got it. I had one lady in Paraguna that had skin cancer. She applied for it. They did not approve her because it was on her behind, and so I fought and told them that radiation can go through your clothes. So I fought for her, but she passed away before she got it also. I've had people from Chicago that was moving to St. George call me and ask me if there's still radiation down there, and I told them to have the water and the ground tested because they had already dug the hole to start the house. And I was in the paper back in Chicago because of the Downwinders. People that were here, I testified, and so she knew. They tested the water and the ground. The water was clear, but the ground still had radiation in it. Her and her husband would not move down there because of that. She didn't want to put her family through that. So she was appreciative of what I had recommended for her, but did not move down there. I've helped people with that, with, saying you should test. I've helped people with sending in the papers to receive compensation, and I've fought for them if they have not received it. And most of the time that I have, they've received it after we've talked to people more about it. And I'm proud of all the people that I've helped do it. I had a great loss with losing my 3 children, changed my life forever. My cancer did too. But my cancer, I was a very quiet person in school, but having cancers made me speak out. I've talked to a lot of people. I've written a book about it. I've helped a lot of people. So I think, what happens to you in life sometimes is for the better. I'm sorry. When I talk about my children, I'm sorry. But I'm trying to make life better for some of the people that have had cancer. And I hope that I'm doing that.